Paul McCartney, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, guys and gals. I've asked you here today to discuss a very important topic. Not really. Just joking. Okay, who's going to start us off? This guy with the...
What are your impressions of America? You've been here quite a bit. What do you think the mood of the country is these days?
The mood of America? Seems great to me. I like it. I'm a visitor, you know, I don't live here, so... but I love it. I love America. So much that I married one.
Are you miffed at this meat thing that's come up here?
No, I'm used to it. We've been vegetarians for like about 20 years, so, you know, we're used to the kind of meat versus veggies argument. I think it's fair enough. You know, a lot of people around here have their livelihood from pork and stuff. But it's a free country, guys, and we're allowed to express our opinion. And so is, I reckon.
I understand that you're underwriting a scholarship using agriculture. Will that
Yeah.
agricultural money be restricted to, can students be studying livestock?
Well, actually, interesting question, which I'll get into a little bit later. I'd like to restrict it, yeah. Because we've been veggies 20 years, guys. It's the thing with us, you know, that basically it's compassion for animals is our real reason. It's not an awful lot more than that. But I think what's starting to kick in now, this kind of ecology and conservation, I think are becoming other interesting aspects of that. Because if the world's going to get overpopulated, like they say it is, you're going to need very economic ways of feeding everyone. And I think that's where vegetarianism starts to come into its own. Yeah, I know. The thing is, as I say, over 20 years, you hear all these arguments, and, you know, that's quite true. The thing what I say to people is, I'm not propounding any kind of watertight theory here. This is just the way I like to be, you know. There's catches with it, and like leather shoes is one of the catches. But if they made good, practical plastic shoes that wouldn't, you know, wouldn't fall apart, I'd wear them. And I think that will happen in the future, you know. But as I say, you know, this is not a watertight argument. This is just a preference of mine to not eat animals, that's all. I'm their friend. Well, this all came up through Katie Lang. Katie Lang doing the PETA business, the Meat Stinks campaign. And then people said, do I support her or not? And I said, yeah. Being a vegetarian for 20 years, it makes sense for me to support her. And also, hey guys, freedom of speech is the other issue here. This is America. You say what you like, can't you? Gorbachev stinks. How's that? Well, I don't know, you know, I'm not really trying to preach to anyone. Obviously, as you say, when I got the attention of the media and someone asked me the question, I can't really run away from it, because these are my beliefs, you know. We haven't come out on this tour to preach against meat. I mean, I'm pro-corn. How's that? Very pro-corn. But, you know, as I say, you know, if we're preaching about anything on this tour, it's ecology. We're really talking about the friends of the earth and how people have got to get their act together. But I'm not the first person to tell people that. Really, all we're doing is just helping with our publicity machine to get publicity for those kind of causes, which I think, I mean, let's try it here. What we normally do in some of these press conferences is say, hands up anyone who doesn't want to save the earth. And of course, you know, no hands go up, because we all want to save it. We don't want a big hole in the sky. So really all we're doing is giving publicity to that fact so that the younger people will realize there's something that's urgently needed to be done.
Speaking of corn, when you were a kid growing up in England,
Yeah.
do you remember if ever you became of Iowa, and did you think of corn when you thought of Iowa?
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, the thing is, you know, well, I think of like not Carousel, Oklahoma, which was like, you know, filmed not in Oklahoma. Where was it filmed? That's where the corn is as high as an elephant's eye. I mean, you think of stuff like that when you think of Iowa. Flat farm country. That's all we know of it over there, really.
Does it bother you that people are coming here to play the Beatles stuff rather than your stuff?
No, that's, I'm quite honored, you know, because I wrote some of it. So. No, it really doesn't bug me. What happened was when the Beatles broke up, we had a problem, all of us, about whether we should do Beatle material, because it seemed like we were just harking back to the old days all the time, and we wanted to kind of make a future for ourselves, and all of us independently refused to do Beatles stuff. But of course, like, that's 20 years ago, you know, and you can't keep a grudge that long. So it was really just a question of either I never sang things like Hey Jude, Sgt. Pepper, Fool on the Hill ever again, and held my grudge forever, or I relented at some point, you know, and this tour seemed like a real good point, because we didn't do it with Wings, so it felt like a novel thing to do this time. And I'm really enjoying doing them, because they're like so fresh. I've never sung them before.
Paul, have you had a happiest moment of this tour up till now? What do you think of?
Yeah, well, I think generally, as far as the audiences are being concerned, Rio was, when we played in Rio in Brazil, it was fairly amazing. But do you just mean America?
Everywhere.
Anywhere. Yeah. Rio. Where we played to 184,000 people, and it was quite something to see that many people in a stadium all at one time.
How much longer are you going to be playing to crowds like that? How much longer do you want to continue to do that?
We're doing this tour till the end of July, and people, I think, tend to kind of think this will be his last tour. You know, it's like when you see guys like my age or the Stones, they kind of, or Grateful Dead, they think, well, it can't last much longer, you know. But we didn't think we'd last till 25. If you look at the old Beatle interviews, we thought 25 was a very old person. So I think, you know, I'll continue to do it as long as people will pay to come and see me. I might even do it when they won't pay to come and see me. I love this stuff, you know. Well, I don't really have any, because what happened with Michael was that those things were up for sale. When John and I did the deal originally when we were like 20-year-olds, we had a deal that's like real old-fashioned these days, where the writer didn't keep the rights. These days now you kind of normally get like half of your rights in a good deal. So we never had any rights to anything really outside the occasional tip, you know, or a royalty and stuff. So Michael bought it fair and square, no argument there. But I am probably, I mean, the way I look at it, it's like I've been working for that company about 30 years, so I'm probably going to approach him for a raise. What do we see? Well, that's we see all sorts of things. Depends where we are. In Rio, we saw more than lambardering going on, which is very interesting. But they're a hot-blooded race out there. During Let It Be, we've seen one or two. You kind of occasionally you'll see couples necking and stuff, you know, because it depends what the effect is on them. You can see. Well, I've seen grown men crying. You know, if it's like the nostalgia thing that gets them. Sometimes, now we're starting to see millions of young kids. It's like it's not the older group. I don't know about tonight, but in the last stuff we've been doing in these stadiums, it seems to be very young kids coming to the show. So, you know, we're seeing quite an interesting perspective from the stage. Is there? Great. Well, I'm not involved with it, but I still think it's a great thing. I always had a great time with that experience. It was in the sort of heady days of the 60s when people were, I think, naturally making fun of gurus, because it's kind of, you know, it's all new stuff to guys like us, you know, that whole idea. But I found it very interesting. I found it relaxing was the main thing I used to use it for. It's like instead of taking an aspirin, you know. And so I still believe in it. I think it's a good thing. And I think the Maharishi's particular one was probably not a rip-off. I think there are some that were rip-offs, though. Yes, ma'am.
Have you been able to see any of the international conspiracy that Satanism and animal?
Oh, my God. Oh, really? Oh.
Very famous vegetarian.
Oh, really? No, well, you know, no, I haven't, actually, but I don't know, so I suppose I shouldn't comment till I have seen it. But, you know, as I say, everyone's welcome to their opinion. That's what's good about this country, you know? And if you want to think I'm part of some conspiracy, then great, you know. But, I mean, we've all heard over the last 20 years all this talk about commie pinkos and, you know, I suspect some of the people in power are just as bad as some of the people handing out the pamphlets myself. But, you know, I'm not worried about that kind of stuff. You know, we used to get threatened by the Ku Klux Klan. who said, we are a terrorist organization, by God, we're going to get them. So what are you going to do when they say that? You know, so no, don't, you know, we're okay. We're just expressing our opinion. I think, you know, when people do that kind of thing, I personally think it works against them. You know, it doesn't look too clever to me, that. It looks slightly foolish. I don't think many of the people in the audience tonight there will think for 1 minute I'm part of some international conspiracy. Pardon? No, they're not very big into rap at the moment. So they tend to like 60s music, my kids. On censoring music, this is like I know stuff, this, isn't it? Great. Okay. What do I think about this? Well, let me think. I think that when you ban things, I think it makes people do it. So I think if I tell my kids don't smoke, I think they're going to have a cigarette. And I doubt the wisdom of labeling on a record, this is bad for you. I think that's probably going to be the record they'll buy, myself. That's my opinion. We had some late-night films that happened in England, which were a little bit sexy, a little bit racy, and, you know, so they didn't want the kids to watch them. So they put a special star in the side of the screen that was meant to indicate this is the one you shouldn't watch. Well, you better believe those are the only films you ever watched, because you had the star, you know, like it must be something in it. And we're all humans, you know, we're all fallible. I don't think it's a good idea myself, but, you know, it's not my job to decide on that, thank goodness. I'm not really too fussed, you know, because normally my stuff doesn't come up against the censors. You know, I'm not into that kind of music.
Big boys victory, fucking it up for everyone, for everyone.
I think mine is more optimistic, more hopeful. It certainly has never been any way connected with Satanism or anything. I mean, I don't think I'd win the poll if it, you know, as the band most likely to be promoting Satanism. So, you know, I think we're just the opposite, in fact. I think we promote a kind of healthy optimism and, you know, what, ecology saved the planet. I mean, that's fairly normal. Well, I don't know, you know, I'm not going to comment. The thing is, you know, Americans are a bunch of individuals. They're not a huge mass, and you'll find very sensible Americans, like sensible Britons, and you'll find idiots, like you do anywhere, you know. And maybe sometimes those are the people who make the papers, you know?
Do you collaborate again with someone like Costello?
Yeah, I've still got a little more work to do with him. So we've got a few more songs to finish off. Yeah, there are some releases of Beatles stuff that haven't got out yet, namely the BBC, yeah. And in a deal we did recently, I think those are going to be released at some point. And there are just one or two other tracks. There's not an awful lot lying around, because we're very tidy. Pardon? Yeah, well, you know, I'm not that keen on them, because they're the tapes we rejected. You know, and it's like pulling out old articles you did that the editor turned down and releasing them. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. But maybe there's some good stuff in there, you know, I don't know. No, I try and never have a style, because the minute you find a style, it gets boring. So I'm always trying to discover how to do it. So sometimes I'll get some ideas like a title and get some lyrics, and then I'll put music to it. More often I get music and then try and put words to it. But it can come any way, you know. No, I thought about it a lot, you know. When I was a little kid, I did what most people do. I went to music lessons, but I couldn't relate to it. It was always very difficult. So, yeah, I'm doing a kind of symphonic thing for next year. And basically what I do is music kind of happens in my head rather than on a page. So for that kind of thing, I need to work with someone who's very good. And this guy I'm working with, Carl Davis, he's a maniac at that. You just, you know, tell him a couple of notes and it's written out and the harmony's written. He's brilliant at that. So that's the collaboration. I'm basically doing most of the writing, and he's actually doing the notation.
Regarding Ames, Iowa,
Yeah.
why Ames? Why did you have Ames?
Why Ames? I'm not sure exactly. The promoters just told me people wanted to come, and there was a big demand for tickets. So that's where we go. Yeah. Yeah, I hate to tell you, I don't know that much about it. It's a fund that is going to be, I think, basically towards ecology. It's something that somebody else has cooked up rather than me, but they kind of, we're going to do the presentation later, so I'll find out all about it. But no, I'm not sure of what the details are. Yeah, well, it's a difficult question because we don't really know, you know, we haven't worked on it enough to know what it's going to be just yet. But it's basically been a long-standing project that we've been meaning to do with the Beatles to try and get the story right from our point of view. So many people write books and tell you, you know, how people like ourselves or Elvis lived. We figure it's a good opportunity for us to actually say, well, this is right, this is wrong, this was right. So I think some of it will be stuff you've never seen before, but we're not really that deeply into it yet to be able to tell you exactly what it consists of. Somebody waving up at the back there, yeah. Behind what? I can't hear, sorry, what did you say? The note missing in Day Tripper. Well, your guess is as good as mine, Gov. I haven't even heard the great legend, never mind. So I don't have the answer to that one. They're normally rubbish, those things. You know, it's like me going across that crossing on Abbey Road with no shoes on. It was a hot day. Honest, that's all it was. But some DJs got hold of it and whipped it up. Well, basically, not quite. I'm going to rest. I'm going to put a pair of slippers on. I'm going to watch a bit of TV. I've actually got a lot of writing to do, which is fun. So I'll be doing a lot of writing after the tour. Probably the reason it's unreleased is it's not that good, you know. I release stuff, you've heard some of it? So you buy bootlegs, huh?
Ladies and
Arrest this man.
Can we have, can we...
No, I don't know. We have little bits and pieces which I might release one of these days. But generally, if it's not released, it's because I don't think it's good enough. Yeah, the one or two tracks I'm not very keen on. There's one called, well, I was talking to a producer called Trevor Horn, and I was talking to him, I was saying, I hate the track called Bip Bop, Some Wildlife. It's like, that's basically the entire lyrics. And he said, oh, I love it, it's my favorite track. So what can you do? I'm not keen on that one.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I introduce...
But though they may be parted, there is still a chance, Bill, that they will see.